Welcome back, everybody. It is Saturday, November 1st. I think that's right. Yesterday was Halloween. The latest video should be posting this morning, so by the time you see this, that one will have already been out for a while. And you know that I got all the parts prep done, and I started the first step or two of reassembly. I came back out here this morning, got one major chunk clecoed back in place. You can see the seat rib assembly is now back on there. It is not permanent yet, but we're going to make it permanent here real soon. What I did do that you didn't really see, part of it you saw in the other video, I permanently attached the lower longerons, and I started the step of attaching the center section back to the frame. These mid-cabin supports are now riveted and bolted to that center section, so it is now mostly permanently attached. There's a whole row of rivets on the bottom that still got to get done, but that's after the belly skin and everything else. So yeah, this entire video is going to be a reassembly of the fuselage. I have no idea how far I will or will not make it, but we shall see. I'm pretty excited to see things going back together and getting to stay together. The skins were all done. You saw that in the last video. I've got them kind of safely tucked away right now because I don't want anything messing them up before I get a chance to put them back on here. Hopefully it won't be long before those skins are back on and I don't have to worry about them as much. Another thing I have to figure out here sooner than later is the rotisserie, because once this is back together, it's going to be too big and awkward to keep climbing in and out of. I really want to be able to rotate this thing to get to wiring runs and things like that. Last update, I forgot to mention on the last video, but the DryBot's still going strong, working way better than my homemade contraption ever could. The humidity level is maintaining right about 3% coming out of the engine, which is just insanely good compared to what I saw before. So it really is doing an awesome job. Anyhow, that's it. You know the routine. VoiceOver Tim will get you caught up on what does or does not happen, and I will see you all later. All right, it's voiceover time. So you've undoubtedly already seen my shop update video with my really bad day. I did recover from it, so all is well. The last of the recovery is happening actually as we speak this morning. But getting back into this. So right now it's just riveting those seat support angles to the seat rib assembly, and that pretty much permanently attaches this. That whole bottom row between the center section and the seat rib skin is still not riveted. That's going to be later on once the rest of the forward belly skin goes on, I believe. But it's one more thing to get attached. And when we get to the part here in a little bit where the issues happen with the squeezer and the armrests and all that, I'll point it out. I don't have any video showing how bad it got when the paint started stripping off or anything like that. I should have, but at that point I was kind of in panic mode and I wasn't thinking about getting video or taking pictures of it. I was just trying to undo what was happening in front of my face. So definitely important here, if you don't already have it and you're working on the same sort of project, make sure you've got multiple cup sets for your rivet gun. Here you can see I needed to use the rivet gun to get down in there because I couldn't get a squeezer around some of these angles, but at the same time you got to be able to fit the rivet gun between these rib assemblies. So I've got a really short cup set for it, and that let me get down and in there. Definitely handy to have a variety to use when it's time. So this part was challenging, having to rivet the bottom flange of those ribs to the skin. One side I was going back and forth, and then when I got to this side I just decided to trust that I was feeling what I was feeling and keep my head down while I went through it. Anyhow, here's the start of the armrests. You can see they were really nicely painted. They were primered, well, scuffed, cleaned, primered, and then painted with that dark machine gray. And originally I chose to do that just in case I had to redo it later. It'd be easier to deal with paint than cerakote. But part of what makes the paint easy to remove is also part of what led to this problem. So right now the squeezer is still working, but it is leaking air, and I'm not sure why. I thought the pedal was just kind of starting to go bad, and there it got stuck. Air's just blowing out the pedal. Can't figure out what's wrong. I think it's a pedal problem to start, so I take the pedal assembly apart. Can't find anything obviously wrong with it. A new pedal was 16 bucks, so I ordered one, and while I was waiting for it to show up, I went back out there the next morning and tried to blow pressure into the intensifier, which is the blue thing, to see if I could get the piston to retract so I could get the squeezer off. And that's when I realized air was just blowing by. So I took it apart, and that's when I had the issue. There you go. You see me cleaning up with the acetone because I realized there's a little residue on the squeezer and apparently on my hands. And right now I am just contaminating those parts with a very, very small amount of automatic transmission fluid residue, which is going to bite me here in, I think it was about 20 minutes, 30 minutes, just long enough for me to rivet both of these together. And they started bubbling up. So then the whole fiasco with getting the sandblaster happened. Here's some video, as I promised, of the sandblaster in action. It did work really well. It took all the paint off. I am using aluminum oxide powder in there, so we're not going to have some weird cross-contamination between, metal particles and aluminum or anything like that. It is also leaving a really nice etch that the cerakote can stick to, and it should make it extremely durable with the cerakote. So there they are, all done, cerakoted and cured, and now I am just back riveting them. I have a normal straight back rivet set, but I'm choosing to use this offset one because it's easier to get around the corners. And there's what it looks like on the panel. That really large offset back riveting set works really, really nice. It's a little, well, it's a lot heavier than the other one, which actually helps in setting the rivets, I think. I originally bought it to do wing skins back when I thought I could back rivet them and have them come out really nice, but the helper I had at the time for that wasn't able to hold the back rivet bar against the skin appropriately, so that led us to just doing it the old-fashioned way, which dinged up the skin a little bit, but it's not too bad. It should be okay. On to other parts. The next few steps was just a whole lot of adding nut plates to different stiffeners and or longerons. Okay, so now it's time to start putting other stuff back on. It tells you to put the main longerons, the upper ones, back on. And then I'm going to put these midskins on along with the side plate, which you won't really see. And start getting everything clecoed in place. Now this makes it really awkward here because those longerons are not supported in the aft end. Right now I've got them held up with a sawhorse and a box to help support the tail end of them, but it's kind of scary the way they're hanging out there right now. They have to be this way, or it starts out this way because you start riveting this together. You can't just put everything on. Some stuff has to get done at the same time. Here you go. Here's some more back riveting of the other skin. This was a day later because I had to let that other armrest cure. Anyhow, I've got the midskins on. They are not riveted in place yet. They are just clecoed in place, but other items are getting riveted in, on, and around them. And before the forward skins can go on, other stuff has to happen. So I'm going to do stuff a little bit out of order here. The forward skins are going to overlap these mid skins, so they don't have to go on until you're ready to actually put them on. There we go. We'll get this mid-skin on here. There you can see that side plate I was talking about sitting off to the side. I'm going to slide it in between the skin and the supports there. There you go. I think the colors came out looking really well. I'm pretty happy with that. The glacial titanium on the skin there, and then that's, I believe, tungsten. Same color I painted on the floor panels and on the baggage area is what I painted on the armrest. So all Cerakote, and hopefully really durable. I also, you won't see it in this video, but I did do the top rails. I blasted them and Cerakoted them with the tungsten as well. So here we're going to start the very first of the riveting of the upper Longerons, those 5 rivets in each gear tower. Easy enough to get with the Longeron yoke on the squeezer. You just got to kind of take it apart and put it together around it and finagle it, but easy enough to do. And then the very forward ones, I'm working on there. I'm sorry I didn't get you a better camera angle, but the forward ones on the engine support brackets to the Longerons are getting riveted. And the back few I figured I could do with the squeezer, but then the angle gets so steep you can't reach in there. Well, I'm kind of a dummy. It's open on the back side. I find out towards the second one, after I've used the rivet gun unnecessarily, that you can actually reach it from the back of that web, and you'll barely see it here. Again, camera angle sucks. If you use the 4-inch no-hole yoke. So there's the first few that I reached from this side. Then you're going to see me using the rivet gun. And I mean, they all came out fine, but again, the squeezer is always the answer if you can find a way to use the squeezer. There you go. You can see I just slid it in there. All right, more support stuff. These are the stiffeners that go on the forward skins, as well as mounting points for like the baggage floor and things like that. But they need to have nut plates attached to them. And you see me periodically using the deburr tool there. I'm just cleaning the paint out so that the rivets sit nice and flush. I also remember an article from Paul Dye that said if you give like one turn to a dimple that you used a squeezer on the skins, it also makes the rivets sit much nicer than just the dimple alone. So I tried it on the side skins, these forward side ones, when I back riveted the these supports on, and it does look nice. So these call for back riveting, and I realized I can do this with the C-frame and the squeezer, and it seemed like a much better way to go, and I don't have to worry about things sliding around. And it really was a better way to go. Just like dimpling and everything else, I can just move right along and set the rivets. The only issue I had was the back riveting set for the squeezer has the spring-loaded cup on it, but it's so close that you have to manually lift it each time to move over the head of the next, or the tail of the next rivet. And it's kind of a pain. Here in a little bit, I just took it off and I just used it as a straight set, which I have a straight set for that C-frame. I just didn't want to take it all apart to put it back on there. But yeah, worked out great. And the last part of this video, before I can put those side skins on the front, I need to add some components, which is why I bought this thing early. So we're going to go ahead and get the fuel pump mounted, wired up, and plumbed. At some point I need to look at getting some brake lines in there before I put these skins on as well. But this part is all fuel pump. So marked out where it went. The only thing I didn't take into account, and I kind of got lucky, but it was still kind of close, is where the line comes out of the end of the fuel pump. It has to make a 180-degree bend to get to my filter, and it just barely clears the firewall. In fact, it took me several tries making the lines to get it to work right. And you won't see any of that because the camera died on me while I was making fuel lines, so You'll see the finished product in a photo, but you won't actually see me making any fuel lines. Anyhow, marked out where it was going to go, got it all drilled, used my little tool there to mark out the holes for the nut plates. And now I'm just countersinking the holes with the deburr tool. This is really thick floor skin there, so don't need to worry about dimpling it. And I'm going to go ahead and get these nut plates installed. And those black things you see there in the middle are rubber isolators. They're hexagonal rubber isolators that I bought off of eBay to mount this to. I figured it would be good to isolate the pump so no vibrations go through the frame, and to give it some standoffs to sit up off of the floor so it lines up better with everything it needs to line up with. So those get threaded in, and because they're hexagonal, I can actually use a socket to help run them down. And then you'll see the pump sits perfectly on top of them. Here's a couple photos for you. There's the isolators installed. There's the pump sitting on them. All right, so over to the workbench, and we're going to make up the harness, the electrical harness to go on this, because I want this thing to be removable. I don't want it to be permanently hardwired, so it's going to have a connector. It's just going to be a simple, flat 4-pin Molex connector with some heavy gauge pins and wires, because these things will draw some current. And I'm just getting the ring lugs crimped on right now. And then I'm going to go ahead and mark which wires are positive, which ones are negative. It's marked on the pump, but because of the orientation of the pump, I figured it might be hard to see those later on when it's in the plane. So having those bits of heat shrink on there will at least help me identify it easily from looking down into the cockpit later on. Getting the Molex pins crimped on now, and then we'll get them populated inside of the connector. I'm also going to make some labels. There you go. And I'm just going to put a label over the outlet of each pump, just as a visual reminder to myself which one I'm calling pump 1 and which one I'm calling pump 2. So get that all wired up. I'm going to go get it put back in, then I'm going to start working on the fuel lines that you're not going to see, but you will see the final picture. And you'll notice the fuel filter, it's the outlet filter, is just kind of sitting above it right now, held up by the lines. I do have 8L clamps on order to get it clamped to the pump housing, so it'll be good and secure. I also have 2 filters, one that's going to go in each wing root area coming out of the tanks. I chose to go with 2 instead of 1 right before the fuel valve. That way, if I get contamination in one fuel tank that clogs a filter, I can easily switch to the other and not lose the ability to feed from either tank just because I had one get clogged. But that'll be much later on. Just some zip ties to clean everything up, and then I'll sort out the rest of it later. I'm going to mark down in my book how this is pinned so I can add that to my wiring diagram later. And that's pretty much it. So that's it for this video. Next one we're going to pick up with doing some work on the tail cone, and we'll get that that problematic rib in that I had to replace because of the double holes. Anyways, thanks for stopping by. Check out the pictures here at the end. Like, subscribe, support, all of that good stuff. Really appreciate it all. And I will see you guys all on the next one.